To begin the process, I pulled in the first item, which was an electric standing desk. I already had this built earlier from two parts, an IKEA tabletop and an electric base I picked up from Motion Gray. I felt like the size of the desk was perfect for that small space along the wall where the setup will be going. After that, the next thing I did was bring in a monitor riser. I decided to go with the setup cockpit from Balolo here due to its modular nature. It's super easy to put together using just an Allen key and a few screws. Different add-ons can also be purchased to enhance the functionality of the riser based on each person's workflow. Each add-on attaches to any of the built-in screw holes all over the base of the walnut top. This creates the flexibility to add things wherever you choose and relocate as needed, which is pretty neat. I had the riser already put together and began to add a few accessories that worked best to complement the desk setup. I started off by adding a large tray I could use for storing a few items at the desk. I decided to install this one on the far right using the 4 provided screws and an Allen key. The tray has that heavy duty feel to it and it's made out of metal with a nice soft felt surface on the inside. The next add-on I installed was the MagSafe holder. I decided to install this because I use an iPhone and the MagSafe is the best way to charge iPhones without any visible wires. Now, keep in mind that this add-on doesn't come with the actual Apple MagSafe charger, so I used one that I already had laying around. It has just been designed to hold up the MagSafe charger at the desk, keeping things clean and tidy. On the other hand, if you've got an Android phone or don't want to use the MagSafe charging, then there's another option that Balolo offers that can hold up the phone with the pathway for wired charging. The installation of the MagSafe holder was fast and easy since it only required a single screw. The last add-on item was the headset holder. I installed this one in order to have a place to store a headset since I didn't plan on using any dedicated monitor speakers at the setup to keep things minimal and compact. The company also sells other add-ons that can be bought with the setup cockpit for different use cases. Now, after putting the monitor riser together, the next item to add was the monitor. For this, I opted for a budget-friendly ViewSonic 32-inch 4K monitor that's been designed for home and office use. Inside the box, there was the monitor, one HDMI cable, and the power cable. The power cable didn't have a power block, which is usually great for cable management. The build quality of the monitor felt pretty solid from the get-go, having some pretty good weight to it as well. I/O ports, buttons, and controls are all located on the back, with the monitor having two HDMI 2.0 ports, a display port, and a mini display port. For this setup, I decided to use the stand the monitor came with to hold it up above the riser. The stand came in two parts with a single screw required to connect them together. Once that was done, all that was left to do was attach the stand to the back of the monitor using two additional screws. There's also VESA on the back for mounting to a desk arm or a wall mount, but I won't be needing it for this setup. Once the stand was built and attached, I placed it at the center on top of the monitor riser. Unfortunately, the stand can't be adjusted in any direction, so a desk arm might be a better choice here if you plan on doing lots of adjustments to the monitor. Next, I moved on to adding the brains of the desk setup. For this setup, there's a variety of options I could have picked from, but to maintain its compact nature, I decided to go with a mini PC. They usually have a very small footprint like a Mac Studio or a Mac Mini, but with Windows OS installed and usually at much more affordable prices. They're also usually upgradable, which is perfect for scaling up or down depending on the use case. The one I chose to use for this setup is called the Geekom Mini IT11, and the unit was provided to me by the brand, so I decided to build a light productivity setup around it. It runs on an 11th gen Intel Core processor, and you can choose between the i5 or the i7 model when buying one. For graphics, it uses an integrated Intel Iris Xe, which means it's not going to be ideal for professional video editing or some serious gaming. For things like building the media home server or general office work, it's the perfect candidate. There's more powerful ones out there that can handle video editing and gaming better, and these things just keep getting better. Inside the box with the Geekom Mini IT11, there was also a power adapter, an HDMI cable, a VESA mounting plate, and some paperwork. Now, right from the get-go, it felt pretty durable with that metal body surrounding its vital parts. There's a fan inlet at the bottom for pulling in cool air while it expels hot air out the sides. On one side, there's an SD card slot, while on the opposite side of that, there's a Kensington lock. On the other two sides, there's a bunch of I/O ports for connecting various peripherals and expanding its uses. Along the front, there's a power button, a 3.5mm audio jack, one USB 3.2 port, one USB-C 4 port, and an LED indicator light. Now along the back, there's one mini display port, an Ethernet port, two more USB 3.2 ports, one more USB-C 4 port, and a single HDMI 2.0 port. The base model starts with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of SSD storage, but those two parts are upgradable and they've also become very affordable to buy these days. The model I've got is the highest tier they offer with an Intel i7 processor, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and 2 terabytes of M.2 SSD storage. The maximum storage that can be installed in it is 4 terabytes, and you can install a max of 2 terabyte M.2 SSD and another 2 terabyte max of a 2.5 inch SATA SSD. The amount of RAM can also be upgraded further to reach a maximum of 64 gigabytes. For more information on the Geekom Mini IT11, you can go ahead and use the link that I provided down in the description below. Due to its very small nature, I was able to fit the mini PC under the monitor riser without any issues at all. I tucked it away to the far right and connected a single HDMI cable between the PC and the monitor afterwards. The Mini IT11 can also be mounted to the VESA point on a monitor using the provided mounting plate. The next thing I did here was add all the peripherals to the desk. First, I added a dark gray large desk mat, then I threw on the Geekom K2 wireless keyboard and the Logitech MX Master 3 as the productivity pair. I added a Beats Studio headset to the left holder and a small plant to the right side for some aesthetics. All that was left to do at this point was some cable management and then powering up the setup. I powered up the setup with an extension box I attached underneath the desk and then did cable management with a cable tray, runway, and some cable velcros. There wasn't much cable management required for this setup due to its minimal nature, and honestly, that was kind of nice. After getting through cable management and getting everything connected to power, the desk build was complete. All that was left was to push the power button on the mini PC and then set up the software side of things. The first order of business was to connect the keyboard, the mouse, and the headset to the mini PC through Bluetooth. The Mini IT11 comes with Bluetooth 5.2, so the connections were seamless. It also comes equipped with Wi-Fi 6 for a more stable connection to the internet. After connecting all three peripherals, I went ahead to do some important Windows updates on the Mini IT11, as you should always do to prevent running into issues with anything that runs Windows OS. After this was done, the setup was ready to use. I downloaded a couple of productivity apps like Adobe Photoshop, Lightroom, and even Premiere Pro. I also made sure the PC was set to the monitor's maximum 4K resolution and 60 Hz of refresh rate. The monitor also comes equipped with HDR10, which I turned on to enhance the quality of the picture. The ViewSonic monitor is cost effective and it's been designed for general home and office use, so it fits perfectly into this setup. It has a maximum resolution of 4K, which is great for any use case, but the maximum refresh rate is capped at 60 Hz, which isn't necessarily terrible for gaming, but you can definitely get a better one if the primary use is for gaming. It's also missing FreeSync and G-Sync support, which should only really matter for gamers, so once again, this isn't geared towards that. It's also got a really nice build to it with really thin bezels surrounding that LCD display. On the backside, there's two built-in 2-watt speakers, which honestly sound like trash, but I only see them being used as a backup for times when the headset isn't being used. The Mini IT11 also works very well for this setup since it's been optimized for home and general office use. I did some photo editing on it using Photoshop and it seemed to perform very well throughout. I also tried editing videos on Premiere Pro and there weren't any issues here as well, but I certainly wouldn't suggest doing any major editing on this. Playing any game locally at 4K was a struggle, so I wouldn't suggest getting the Mini IT11 if your main use case will be gaming. I'm also a big fan of the compact nature of the mini PC, which makes it easy to keep hidden and out of sight, unlike a traditional tower PC, which usually takes up a lot more space. The setup cockpit in walnut and black also adds a nice bit of aesthetic and contrast to the white desktop, while also adding storage for small items, charging for my iPhone or just phones in general, as well as storage for the headset. It's also a great way to add some depth to the desk by raising the monitor up a little bit. The Geekom K2 is a 10 keyless keyboard with a small footprint, and since the theme of this desk setup is keeping things compact, I think it fits here very nicely. It has backlit keys and the battery life lasts for quite a long time before needing a recharge. The one that I've got there uses brown switches, which produces very nice tactile sounds as the buttons are being pressed. The MX Master 3 is a legendary mouse that's known for being great for productivity and just office work in general. It's got an ergonomic shape to it that makes it easy to use for long periods of time, and there's a few programmable buttons on it, as well as a horizontal and a vertical scroll wheel. The Bluetooth functionality of the keyboard and the mouse also helps in maintaining a tidy look at the desk without the need for any cables. Now, after everything, I'm happy I was able to achieve my goal here of building a clean, compact, and super minimal desk setup designed for general home and office use. You can also modify the setup to fit a different use case by replacing certain parts. For example, if you want a more gaming-centric setup like this one that's compact and minimal, then replacing the mini PC, the monitor, the keyboard, and the mouse with ones that are optimized for gaming would definitely do the trick. If you're looking to put together a compact desk setup just to surf the web, do some light office work, or even just schoolwork or watch videos in general, then this desk setup is a great model to follow. Let me know what you guys think about this setup down in the comment section below. Links to everything I use will be listed down in the description for anyone that's interested. I hope you all enjoyed watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. It's Tommy, and I'm out, y'all.